From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
Morning, everybody. Morning, Daz. Morning, Steve. Morning, Teddy boy.
Morning. Good morning, sunshine.
How are we all on this fine Thursday morning?
Doing really well.
I'm annoyed.
Oh, no.
Annoyed.
Oh, no.
Because Gaz cut us off in our prime. We were talking off air about all things historical, geographical, about Sunderland, and you were enjoying it. You were drinking in the information from my fountain of knowledge.
And I rudely
Any time we
interrupted
get to
you
catch up.
because
We've got a show to do.
the short to do. Fancy that.
Apparently, that's why we're here.
Well, I'm just learning, for those just tuning in, I'm just learning that Sunderland is obviously being owned by someone named Hilton, and they've gone round and just named everything Hilton something. So we're now calling him Hilton Ted from now on, because you got Hilton Red House, Hilton Castle Estate,
What about Hilton
Lane
Ted House?
Estate. It's now Hilton Ted. So we were just doing it. You'll realise why in a bit later. But what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the North East Football Brekkie Show, where we talk everything but football sometimes, especially when Middlesbrough have a bad loss. But we've got to talk about today. For your Thursday morning. Yeah, I said that real loud. Aussie. Good night today. Liverpool v Chelsea is now the confirmed Carabao Cup final. Is that expected? Well done, Carabao Cup. You got the final that you wanted. Confirmed by the EFL. We've got the season for next season in the EFL confirmed, the dates, how many games are played, and want to talk to the lads about that. Real Madrid as well have overtaken Manchester City to become the highest revenue generating football club in the world. So we're going to talk to the lads about money generated by these clubs, if there's going to be anyone else. UK billionaire Joe Lewis, whose family trust owns Tottenham Hotspur, has pleaded guilty to insider trading in a US court as well. We'll get some lowdown on that and what that might mean for Tottenham. VAR, baby, VAR, 4 minutes past 7, VAR. Nottingham Forest have been informed by the referees organisation that the video assistant referee did not have the power to rule out Brentford, a.k.a. Ivan Toney's disputed equaliser on Saturday. What a system, hey? We'll talk to the lads more about that. PSV have just lost their first game in their domestic competition after exactly 1 year. They went 40 games unbeaten. Want to talk to the lads about what an exciting league that must be. And then lastly as well, lads, the majority of the Nottingham Forest squad do not have pay cut clauses in their contracts in the event of relegation. Uh-oh. That and a lot more coming up on the North East Brekkie Show for your Thursday morning. But as always, we start off with some club headlines to go around to each of the three clubs and find out what's making headlines for their club. Mind you, the Sunderland one will probably be long and a little bit boring.
Smoggies and Proud. Borough News.
Good morning, Borough fans. How are we, you beautiful humans of the North East? I hope you're fantastic, safe and well. And we're completely and utterly forgetting about the Carabao Cup. Michael Carrick continues to reiterate that Middlesbrough won't make any panic signings at the end of the January transfer window. Borough have already so far added Luke Ayling and Finn Azaz to their squad and are braced for another Aston Villa push to sign Morgan Rogers before the window closes. It's unknown at this stage whether Rogers' departure would prompt Borough to look for a replacement, with Azaz's arrival already leaving them well stocked in that forward/higher midfield department. However, since signing Ayling the second week of the month, Borough's recruitment team had now been focused on trying to find a centre forward, with Emmanuel Latte Lath and Josh Coburn both having issues throughout the season with injuries. In what isn't a very active market in general, however, Borough have so far been frustrated in their search trying to find a striker, aren't we all? And Borough will also now have a couple of weeks to recover, just remembering that Birmingham tie this weekend has been postponed due to their advancement in the FA Cup. They will be back on the 4th of February against a certain team near Monk Wearmouth, south of Whitburn, near Hilton Red House. And just a reminder, we beat them 4-0 and it's in our own backyard. That's your morning headlines. Good morning.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Good morning, Newcastle fans. With the clock ticking in the transfer window, the gap in valuation between Newcastle and Bayern Munich over Kieran Trippier looks to be too wide after comments from the Bundesliga side's sporting director, on Wednesday night to the effect that their interest in him is over. Yesterday brought a bid of £13 million, which was rejected by Newcastle, and Bayern then announced that that was that. Meanwhile, Miguel Almiron is understood to have told the club that he doesn't want to leave St James's Park this month. The midfielder has been linked with a move to Al Shabab, with a talk of £30 million as the fee for the Paraguay skipper. But he is less than a year into a newly penned contract and loves life on Tyneside. It is believed that Almiron and his family are not open to a move this month. On the injury front, Newcastle striker Callum Wilson is likely to miss the Fulham match in the FA Cup, but he will be ready for the trip to Aston Villa at the end of the month. While Joe Willock has been stepping up his recovery behind the scenes, the Chronicle are reporting that he won't feature until at least February, while Harvey Barnes is back on the grass and trying to overcome his recurring foot issue. And on Tuesday, Gambia played their third and final game of their African Cup of Nations group stage campaign, and they lost 3-2 to Cameroon in the Ivory Coast. Tuesday saw Gambia play the third and final game of the Africa Cup of Nations stage, and after a defeat to Senegal 3-0 and Guinea 1-0, the Scorpions needed victory to have any chance of securing third place in Group C and the possibility of qualifying for the knockout stage. With Newcastle's Yankuba Minte retaining his place in the side, things looked good for Gambia when they came from behind to lead 2-1 with 5 minutes left, but then Cameroon levelled, going 3-2 ahead during time added on. A VAR decision then denying Gambia a goal after they thought they had made it 3-3. Minte will now return to Feyenoord to continue his loan spell at the club. That's your Newcastle headlines on Thursday morning.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Morning Sunderland fans, you may start breathing a sigh of relief as one of Jack Clark's most prominent interested parties have made alternative plans. Transfer insider Fabrizio Romano has stated that negotiations are advancing fast for West Ham to bring Noord-Ijsland winger Ibrahim Osman to London for a fee of around $15.3 million. He also adds that fresh round of talks are scheduled today and tomorrow in order for all parties to get a deal done. Hopefully that means Clark is staying. Sunderland women's news now, and Aston Villa could face punishment for fielding an ineligible player in their Continental League Cup game against Sunderland last night. Noel Moritz, who joined Villa from Arsenal in January, came off the bench in their 7-0 victory over Sunderland, which ensured Villa's progression to the quarter-finals as Group A winners. But Moritz had already played 3 times for Arsenal earlier in the competition. The FA are thought to be investigating, however the FA rules say any club found to have played an ineligible player in a cup match or cup matches shall be in breach of these rules, and the matter shall be referred to an independent tribunal for determination. And finally, Manchester United's stance on Amad Diallo remains clear despite the breakdown of other United players' loan moves during the January transfer window. Amad, of course, enjoyed a fruitful loan spell at Sunderland last season in the Championship and helped propel the team to the playoffs. The Black Cats were keen for the player to return last summer, but a knee injury complicated matters. The Black Cats were credited with an interest in the attacker this January after Amad's return to fitness. However, United plan to keep Amad this month after paying Italian side Atalanta a reported fee of £19 million, rising to £37 million for the player in 2020. There are your short Sunderland headlines.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve, Ted and Rye. The North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the tune and the cat.
Sorry about that. I had a Hilton nap during those Sunderland headlines. I tell you, I just drifted off there.
Hang on a second. Right. Okay.
Yes.
Right. In the week that we got thrashed, I think it's fair to say, at the Borough against Chelsea.
Yes.
Did Ted sneak out that Sunderland got beat 7-0 there in the same week?
Ooh.
Sunderland women's team were beaten 7-0 unfairly because Aston Villa played an ineligible player.
Oh, so it was unfair. So that was okay.
Broke the rules.
Right. Break the rules.
Hilton, by the way, lads. It was the Hilton family ride, just to educate you a little bit.
Oh, really?
There's a nice castle in Sunderland, Hilton Castle, which is a nice heritage site, and I've just had I've never been there for obvious reasons. Never really looked around Sunderland, but
I'll take it when I'm over.
You'll have to, yeah. But it looks really nice. It's the kind of place I would go to. And the Hilton family had it to the mid 1700s when the last heir died. Well, Baron Hilton died without a male heir. So in 1746, the castle was passed on. So it's had a variety of owners since then. But the Hilton family were a very rich family back in the day. So that's probably why there's
sounds like it.
A lot of streets and things named after them, and a lot of areas named after them. So there you go. But you can Google it to your heart's content today, Rye.
Well, I didn't
Steve,
even
if you
realize
think that's interesting.
I own part of Sunderland.
If you think that's cool, wait till you hear about Penshire Monument. If you ever come to the Northeast, we're going to have such a trip out, mate. Honestly, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I can't wait. I want to go to Ryehope and just be like, hello, my citizens. Is it Ryehope? That's what I'm calling it. Is it. Hello, I am the mayor of Ryehope now. I own all of you. So Ryehope, is it Ryehope?
If you
Anyone tuning in from Ryehope? Ryehope Engines Museum is where I produced all my engines, and that's another one. This is geography on a Thursday morning. Would you believe it? Just if you weren't having a sleep in, now you can because we're talking geography. But I hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. It's good to have you boys with us. A full entourage today. No radio dad. He's having a sleep in, but we do prefer you sometime, Daz. You know what I mean? So it's all right.
I'm glad
he was on fine form yesterday. Yesterday.
Our friend Daniil has been in touch this morning. Good morning,
Daniil.
Pleased to get an early win with What the Fact yesterday. Let the games begin today, he said. So
yes, well, I've got a certain game coming up in the next hour, but unfortunately, it's going to be more on the pressure cooker, if you will, of the two lads to my left and right, Steve and Ted. Daz will be refereeing this one, so excellent. Stay tuned for that one. That's coming through in the next hour. But lads, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. We've got to talk about last night's Liverpool v Chelsea Carabao Cup final now confirmed. Liverpool coming through against Fulham in a 1-1 draw, one of the most boring games I've seen in a long time. It was a pretty dire game. I'm not going to lie, but it has lined up obviously Chelsea Liverpool final, which you would argue is probably the best outcome for Carabao Cup because now they get the most fans into the ground. The game will take place on the 25th of February, so about a month from today, on a Sunday. It does seem, unless it could be changed. Lads, I'll start with you, Teddy boy. Liverpool-Chelsea, probably the most obvious outcome out of all of the teams in the Carabao Cup. Maybe obviously a Man City or something like that, potentially. But I think it's good for tickets, right?
Well, it's not. I mean, I watched the first half last night, and as soon as Liverpool scored, I thought, well, that's pretty much it. It was proved to be the case. I mean, there was a late rally from Fulham, but it wasn't enough ultimately. So I was scrolling through X, formerly known as Twitter, and our friend of the show, James Copley, Jimmy Coppers, as you like to call him.
Jimmy?
James actually nailed it and said basically that, like, these top flight football now is just becoming a little bit boring and predictable, especially the cup games. Had Fulham getting through, I probably would have watched the final. Because you want to see how the underdog gets on, don't you? Same reason why I watched the Middlesbrough game as well. But it is, it's just becoming very predictable. It's like it's the same winners just about. I think it's had maybe 4 winners in the last decade. Yeah. It's kind of like it's just become a little bit stale. That maybe we'd need to have a look at these cup competitions and see if we can breathe new life into them. I don't know. Maybe play the Premier League teams from the first round and let the lower league teams join in at the third round, and that mix it up a little bit, make it a bit more interesting, make it a bigger chance for the smaller clubs to actually get through and earn some money out of it first of all, and then obviously hopefully they get a bit of a shock result as well.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Teddy boy, because actually from next season they have confirmed that there will be no second leg in the semi-final for the Carabao Cup. So from next season, it'll just be the one game with whoever pulls their hat out of the ball out correctly. It will get the home game and that's it. So it'll just be a one-off game. So if we were here next season, we'd be in the final, Daz, because we won the game. Yeah, we won the first game.
That's a good point.
So technically, we are in the Carabao Cup final.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Those straws moving a bit closer.
Technically, we are Carabao Cup finalists. That's what I'm hanging on to. Stevie boy, Carabao Cup, Liverpool v Chelsea. Obviously, Middlesbrough, in theory, next year would have been in it. Is it something you're going to tune into? Something you can skip and have a sleep in?
I mean, look, it'll be an interesting game. Chelsea have certainly upped their game. You know, they've suddenly started to find form. It's took them, best part of 2 years and 3 managers to finally get, a team playing as a team. And it started with that win against Newcastle, a penalty shootout. That could have ended their season. They could have been on a downward slump after that, but they won the penalty shootout, and then they've gone on, regained some decent form in the league. They're climbing up the table, and, now they're in a cup final. It just shows you, the fine margins, at that level. Liverpool, yeah, I mean, this is the 3rd time that Jurgen Klopp's taken them to the League Cup final. He's won behind Bob Paisley now, who got them there 4 times. It's a competition which I guess was on the verge of, almost being irrelevant, but when Carabao have come on board, they seem to have caused a little resurgence in it. It's become exciting again. Crowds are up. Cheaper tickets for these cup games have attracted the crowds again, which, some of the big clubs in the Premier League now are all season ticket grounds. It's difficult for people to get in. So, cheap deals for kids and families, £10 for adults, £5 for kids at Newcastle for a lot of these games. It's brought people back to the competition. So it's regained its interest, I think. But I get where you're coming from with the fact that it's a Liverpool-Chelsea final. Last year was Newcastle against Manchester United. Newcastle, it was a new team there. I mean, the last time we'd been to the League Cup final was 76. So, it was... There is hope, I guess, in that competition that you can get a team to the final that hasn't won anything. I mean, over the years, it's embarrassing the amount of what I would call, lesser teams than say Newcastle, Sunderland, or Middlesbrough have gone on to win the trophy, and we're all still scratching around, not having won anything for years. So, it is one that can create a shock, but clearly not this year. Liverpool, Chelsea is the final. We've just got to accept it and hope we can change that next season. I'm a fan of the 2 legs in the semi. I think that is the way that essentially, it gives you a chance of having, somebody else in a final. I think it changes the direction of the game. I think, if you've just got a one-off semi-final, I think that, it too turns up on the day. But the beauty of it is that, you have that hope. Middlesbrough had hope yesterday going into the game. 2 days ago when they went into that game, it was half time, they were winning 1-0. Obviously we know now, Chelsea turned up, Middlesbrough didn't, and the rest's history. But they, I think the 2 legs creates that excitement. Things can change, things can be turned around, and you've got to play it a different way. And I'll be upset to see that change. I would like to see a bit more clarity in the cups, though. We're talking about the FA Cup. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow, I guess, with Newcastle playing Fulham. But they're constantly changing the rules, and so there's a replay in the 4th round. So should Newcastle get a draw at Fulham on Saturday, it's back to St James's Park, I think, on the 6th of February for a replay. But then in the 5th round, the replays are stopping, and then next year, there's no replays. The replays are being taken out of the game, and now we're returning back to extra time and penalties. And I hate penalties. I don't think penalties is the right way to decide anything. I just think it's wrong that you play an entire, you play through an entire cup run, and it's decided, you get to a semi-final, it's decided on penalties. I think that's horrendous. I'd rather have the golden goal, but I know some people prefer penalties. I prefer the golden goal. I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, it's the expected final, sadly. West Ham give it a good go. Borough give it a good go. But, Liverpool, Chelsea it is. And yeah, I'll watch it. I will watch it. I think it'll be a decent game. I do enjoy, although I don't like Klopp's history on it, 'cause I do enjoy watching Liverpool play. And if Chelsea keep up this run of form that they're on, it could be a cracking final.
Yeah, I won't be watching it. So move on.
What was that Gary Neville said? It was at Manchester City versus Liverpool, and he was asked what he thought about the game, and he said it's like trying to pick someone to punch your wife or something like that. You know, it was a bizarre statement.
Trying to get banned from TV, is he?
Yeah, no, it was a long time ago.
Been knocking around with Joey Barton.
Yeah, but his point is that I'm not interested in making that decision about who's going to win this game or even watch this game because. Yeah, I've lost interest. If there'd have been, I think it was Ted who said it, if there'd have been an underdog in there, if Fulham had got through, I'd have been backing Fulham all the way. But I don't think I'm going to watch a Chelsea-Liverpool final now.
It's crazy that we can consider Fulham an underdog as well, isn't it? That just shows you how the top 4, top 6, that are always in there, at Fulham, who are in the Premier League, are still considered an underdog because it's not Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. And a few comments that came out from the Carabao Cup, the performance for Middlesbrough that I've seen, obviously that I got tagged in and sent, million DMs. Thanks for all those, by the way, as if I wasn't hurting enough. Was that just the gap between the Premier League and Championship, and the void is as big as it's ever been. Is what people are saying now.
Bigger now.
Yeah, and they reckon that it's the gap between there, but I would argue as well the gap between that top 6, maybe that top 4 even is starting to open up as well. I mean, we're seeing it with the 3 teams of the Championship coming up. You know what I mean? That's obviously evident how big the gap is to jump up.
It's two halves now, right? It's 2 halves now. I think I've said it.
Yeah.
I think I've said it this season. It once upon a time there was a top, a middle, and a bottom. There's no middle now, and that's the thing in the Premier League. You've got you did have the big 6,
almost like a big 8.
It is, yeah. Anything down to anything, and I am going to include Newcastle because of the season they had last season, and let's see where they are in May.
Fair enough.
But, anyone down to 10th, which is where Newcastle find themselves at the moment, has got a chance of Europe at the moment. I mean, you could probably take it to 11th where Wolves are. I think Bournemouth will have a struggle to get to Europe this season, but Wolves could put a run together. They're doing really well with there's a Gary O'Neill, and then I think anyone from Bournemouth down over to Sheffield United could go down. Yeah. It's probably looking like that bottom 3 though, Sheffield United, Burnley, Luton. I think the only thing that'll change that is if Everton lose points with another points deduction for FFP.
Or Forest.
Or Forest, of course, yeah, they're involved. But, you string a run together of wins and, Bournemouth are right in it. So you just don't know. And Fulham, we'll call them a big club, but they're sitting in 13th place on 24 points. So there's no middle anymore. There's no middle.
No.
There's no middle table. Nah,
it's not.
Did you know, lads? I've got a fact for you. You know you like me facts.
Oh, I do?
The Carabao Cup. The Carabao is actually a Philippine English term for the water buffalo, which is quite apt because we do speak a whole load of bull.
Oh.
Very good.
Well done.
Carry on.
We're about 6 minutes away from the sports headlines, and it's a perfect time to get this in and out of the way because this is one of the stories that sadly we keep talking about and one that we have to bring up, but it's just one that I just, the lads and I think we're all in agreement that, and we've spoken about it a lot, but it's racism in football. We've seen it unfortunately again over the weekend where we saw incidents at Udinese and Sheffield Wednesday again, with one closer to our home with Sheffield Wednesday fans once again proving that that they need to pull their heads in. But the question that needs to be asked, guys, is FIFA President Gianni Infantino, what a pronunciation there by Rye, well done, thank you, is actually... Thank you. He's saying that there should be an automatic forfeit of games for teams whose fans commit racist abuse. Teddy boy, if Sheffield Wednesday or any team in the Championship, you see a fan committing racial abuse, how do you feel about that team being automatically forfeited and you win the game and game over?
I think the way it's weird that you mentioned this because I watched an article about this, watched a short video about it. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone out there, that initially a complaint goes to the referee. The referee will then speak to some sort of official, and then there should be some form of announcement goes out. Now, once that announcement goes out, hopefully your fans have the common sense to police themselves and get rid of anybody who's creating what is just absolute scumbag behaviour. It's nothing but trouble. That's what they're trying to cause. So hopefully at that point, it sorts itself out. I believe the game then can be sort of suspended for a short amount of time until stewards, etc., go and investigate, try and remove individuals. And then the third pause for it, apparently, the referee has the power to postpone the game and basically call the game off. So on that basis, if the clubs are policing this right, yes, you're always going to get idiots. But to highlight this, I think maybe that's one of the only ways we can do it, is actually suspend teams from competitions, or if it's a league game, dock them the 3 points. It's a very, very severe way, and it's not fair on the vast majority of fans who go there for the game, for the love of the game, and want to see their team do well. They want to see their team play against local rivals, all that kind of thing, without causing any aggravation. So it's very, very harsh on the 99.9% of fans who are there for the right reason. But it does, if you do start and suspend these games and invoke these penalties, I guess, then yeah, the fans are going to police themselves, and they're going to ensure that their club is free of this kind of reputation.
What do you reckon, Steve? I mean, obviously the FIFA president wants it, but could you see? We've always wanted harsher penalties, but could you see a team having to forfeit their match because their fan base has performed a racist gesture? Is that fair on the team and the players that are on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's something which has unfortunately been part of football for many, many years. I mean, I go back to the 80s when we used to walk into the Gallagher and there was, skinheads with boots on selling the National Front magazine. And, I remember the days where, players would be running on to warm up at St James's Park and they were getting, monkey chants at them and bananas thrown at them. It's, it's something which was part of 80s football and, was rightly stamped out in the 90s. And now with cameras, with they've got signs up in the ground, they've got hotlines that you can text on the day at St James's Park to report any type of behaviour. There's no excuse for not being able to weed out individuals who think that it's a good idea to do that at the match. Do I think a club should be punished? Not if they do things properly. I think taking points off teams and punishing the team for the action of, a minority at a football ground is wrong. I think as long as the club are taking out the correct precautions to stop these people getting into the ground, and if something happens at the ground, those people are treated, in the correct way, i.e., given a ban from the ground and that problem stamped out. I think that's punishment enough. You should be targeting the individuals. But I also think you should be educating the individuals as well. I think that there's, I don't think you can ever have too much education when you're dealing with this kind of issue. And, and the clubs are good at that. I certainly know my club is good at that. Newcastle United, they are very good at, leading that kind of campaign and reminding people that, that no way, shape or form is racism welcome at the ground. And, I've seen various reports over the years of people being ejected and moved, and we've seen it in recent times with other acts of stupidity at grounds where people have used photographs of the late Bradley Lowry to mock Sunderland fans, and those people have been highlighted straight away because of the CCTV within the ground and prosecuted. So long may that continue. Anyone who decides to act like that in a football ground should be punished. But should the clubs be punished? Should the team be punished? No, not if you're taking the correct precautions.
It's disgusting. Get it out of our game, I tell you. And it's sad that it's Sheffield Wednesday again. But let's move on. Sports headlines time. We'll be back after this with more on the Northeast Brekkie Show coming right up.
Together across the Northeast.
The turn, the cat, and the red.
Welcome back to the Northeast Brekkie Show. You're tuning in with Rye, the Borough fan, Ted, the Mackham, Steve, the Geordie, and Daz, the button pusher, but also a Borough fan. We are not talking Carabao Cup anymore, so if you are going to WhatsApp in the show, we'll give you the number, but if it's about Borough and the Carabao Cup, you will be banned. Daz, what's that number?
It's 0330 or 043 2002. We'd love to hear from you this morning. That's our WhatsApp number. You can drop us a message, you can drop us a voice note, click on the little microphone in the chat box and record yourself a little voice note if you want, or you could even give us a call 0330 or 043 2002 to contact the three legends this morning, Steve, Ted and Ray on the Northeast Footy Brekkie.
And please stop, if you are one of the fan people, of calling up for Ted. He will not return your calls, all right? He said no more fan mail, all right? So please stop sending it to station. We're inundated. All right, now I'm going to talk about...
You speak for all of my 27 followers.
We're going to talk about the EFL, lads, because this is kind of driving me a little bit insane. Obviously, it affects Borough and Sunderland, potentially, hoping that we won't be, but we are going to be affected by this next season. You would think in the 24-25 season has been announced the details of when it will kick off, how long it'll go for, yada, yada, yada. The confirmed season date will be kicking off on the 10th to the 11th of August 2024, and the regular campaign will end on May the 3rd, 2025. There will be 46 rounds of league matches taking place across 33 weekends, 9 midweeks, and 4 bank holidays in the championship. Teddy boy, why does the championship
Mouthful of fruit
play
tea, sorry.
Why do we play so many games? I mean, 46 games over the space of 33 weekends, obviously including the 9 midweek games and 4 bank holidays. Is there a sense that it is too much football? I mean, we're seeing the championship like just on the weekend, and I'm going to bring it up because it's not an excuse, but Chelsea have just come off a 10-day rest. Middlesbrough had 3. We had the Carabao Cup semi-final, one of the biggest games of our careers. And Middlesbrough come off a 3-day rest, nigh 2-day rest. Chelsea with 10 because of the fixture hugeness. And I know that's not a correct word, but I'm going to use it. The hugeness,
enormity.
Because I'm disgusted. Thank you. Of 46 games in a regular season, is it too much?
Wash your mouth out. Wash your mouth out, young man. There is no such thing as too much football. How dare you? How dare you, from your sunny island, start spouting such vile language like that? We want more football. I mean, bear in mind, it's 46 games over 33 weeks if you don't go on a really, really lucky run in the Cup where you get no big teams until you get to the semi-finals. You know,
Hey,
games with that.
Hey.
What?
Cut him off.
Didn't mention anyone. Sue me. See you all in court.
7-0. 7-0.
It was the women's team.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do. Oh, it was the women's team.
Well, they're just newly formed. We're still finding our feet. Give the lasses a chance. But Aston Villa didn't because they fielded illegal players. But there you go. Yeah, for me, mate, I know it's tough on the players, and you look at the injuries that all 3 of the big Northeast teams have had this season. Fixture congestion is a bit of an issue, of course it is, but at the same time, it's why we love it. It's not the injuries, obviously, but we love having those midweek games. We love having back-to-back matches over that festive period and things like that. It's why I love football. It's kind of like there's always, another game in 4 days' time, or there's another game next weekend to put things right, or, to see if the run continues. For me, yes, I think that the clubs need to be better in terms of the conditioning of players. I think they are honed so well as athletes now that their bodies do break under less stress than what players used to do. However, that's down to the clubs to get that right. A couple of more pies down these lads wouldn't hurt, I think. Be able to take a bit of a knock. But yeah, I love it. I don't want to see the season become longer or less games or anything like that. It's great the way it is. It's exciting. It's championship football for me, and obviously, we're having to get used to it these days, is more exciting than Premier League football. Just for the pure fact that there is more games, there's such a mixture of them as well. Long may it continue, in my opinion, mate.
Stevie boy, I feel like we just spoke about just before the sports headlines about the gap, the void, if you will, between the championship and the EPL getting a little bit larger. Is it to do anything with the amount of games that the championship has to play compared to the Premier League? Premier League currently on a winter break, where the championship is just roll on?
Possibly. I mean, there is too many games for me in the championship. I think when we were relegated last time, it's the one thing I dread because it makes the division so hard to get out of. I mean, I guess there's 2 trains of thought. Too many games can equal too many injuries, and can equal a team which should be up there and bouncing straight back. Separates the men from the boys. But I think the flip side of it is, as a supporter, you get value for money. Your season ticket, is getting you access to more games, and if you're winning games, which of course the last couple of relegations Newcastle have suffered, we've been very lucky. We've bounced straight back, so it's almost like a holiday if that makes sense for you as a fan. You've been in the Premier League. You've had a horrible stinking season where you've never won a game. You've dropped out of the league, but then you're in the Championship. You're suddenly going to these grounds that you haven't been to for years. You're reacquainting yourself with some of these these places, and it's a party atmosphere. You're winning games every week, so it becomes a novelty. But should there be a reduction in games? I'm not so sure.
Dazzy boy, what do you reckon, mate? 46 games in the EFL. Middlesbrough obviously currently enduring that with the injury list we've had. We have a Carabao Cup semi-final run where we saw the break Chelsea had compared to the break we had. Is there a sense that there is too much football for a championship team to then want to try and compete in these cups at the same time?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there's a bit of that. I think there's a bit of an unfairness in comparison to the Premier League. But I also think, from a Borough point of view, we don't have to worry about this for next season. It's only really Sunderland that will need to worry about it, isn't it, really? Because we will be in the Premier League.
Living in dream. You are living in dreamland.
So many times we've heard that the Premier League is the best league in the world, etc., yada, yada, yada. The most competitive league in the world, I think, is probably this Championship. It is so wide open, but it's a lot of games, and I don't know. I don't know. Is it a money thing? Is it? What? Why is it? Why do we have so much cramped? Surely, if the powers that be are looking into this. If the Premier League, they're going for Europe, they're going for other cups, etc. So yeah, let's give them a little bit of a break. Why have we not got a break in the Championship? Because you're right.
No, I completely agree.
Teams, in the Championship are, all right. We got through the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, but there's the FA Cup as well that are going on. What's wrong with looking at a break for the other leagues as well below the Premier League to maybe help out a little bit with easing some of those injury concerns that Steve's talking about to just try and make the playing field a little bit leveler, if you like. It's never going to be level, is it?
No,
Premier League Championship, we know that. But that's certainly something that the powers could look at, the EFL, whether they will or not, whether they're just sitting and counting the coffers of the TV money that's coming in or I don't know. But I certainly think a winter break in the Championship next season, when you look at that schedule, I don't think it would be a bad idea.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not.
Day games though.
Look, I'm not saying. I'm probably not saying reduce games. Do you know what I mean? I'm probably away from that, right? But I'm all for a break. I mean, if the Premier League teams are getting a break, do you know what I mean? Especially when there's AFCON and Asian Cup, like we have right now, where we've got Riley McGree and Sammy Silvera away. You know what I mean? We would have had Seni Dieng if he wasn't away, injured away as well. You know what I mean? You've got teams in the AFL getting better and better, stronger and stronger, more financially secure. Now, if the Premier League are acknowledging that, yes, there is more international football than ever, that there is a need for a winter break, why hasn't the EFL thought of the same thing? Why can't the Championship, right, who are the league beneath the Premier League, agree that they probably need the same amount of respite, if or not a break as well? So I agree, 46 games, right? You can do that. I guess there's more teams there's a lot more teams in the Championship. There's a lot more travel, all that sort of stuff. I get it. And it's probably, 46 rounds, do it. I'm all for it. I love watching the Borough week in, week out and watch them, every day of the week if I had to. But I'm just saying that there needs to be consideration that we are seeing a gap between the Premier League and the Championship getting even bigger. And maybe there is a sense that there should be a bit more rest for Championship teams just to keep it more even, because you see exactly that in the Carabao Cup, that, the day's rest between it. Do you know what I mean? If Sunderland had been up there playing the day after against Man City or something like that in a semi-final, you would have wanted more days off between that game. Do you know what I mean? You just would have. So it just seems to be a bit of a bit of an overrun, bit of a side thought that the Championship can just keep going on like that, and maybe we need to move it into the future. But I
reckon the Premier League have got it wrong. And I've said this before on the show. I reckon the Premier League have got it wrong. Obviously, the Premier League's where the money's at, and they're always going to get looked after better than what the EFL does. That's just par for the course, really. I've said it time and time again. You shouldn't take international breaks. And that's Premier League, EFL, doesn't matter which league it is. You shouldn't take breaks for international, whether it's tournaments, whether it's friendlies, anything like that. Crack on and use what you've got in your academy. That's what you've got an academy for, is to produce more players. So blood them.
Okay.
Use them.
Okay.
For me, these international, there's nothing more infuriating in football. That's a lie, because I'm a Sunderland fan. Everything infuriates me. I mean, I can get angry at a waterfall these days. You know, it's just half of the course being a Sunderland fan. But getting back to the point, one of the biggest infuriating things is the international breaks. When there's, and it's a bugger for us as well, because we have nothing to talk about on this show. it is that much more difficult. But it's naff, isn't it? The international breaks, you're kind of sitting on a Saturday going, I've got absolutely zero time and patience to watch England play Liechtenstein in some sort of friendly that Gareth Southgate is going to bore the absolute corduroy trousers off us. It's just, it's naff. It's absolutely naff. So crack on. We've all got academies. We've all got youth systems. We've all got under-23s. We've got, reserve games and all that kind of thing. Promote from within. Play the players that we've got there. It means their standard gets better. You're starting to give these people, the likes of Chrissy Rigg in our team, and I know Middlesbrough and Newcastle have got people as well who can step into that and make the step up. Let's give them an opportunity to do it. It'll never happen, of course, because that you pay the money to see the top players. That's what sponsorship is all about. But in an ideal world, just stop international breaks altogether.
Yeah, I mean we're being forced into using younger players because of the injury crisis. So I would agree. I mean, look at the opportunity the injury list has given Lewis Miley. He's had the opportunity. I would agree. I think when we don't stop the Premier League for AFCON, do we? The African Cup of Nations takes a lot of players away from the Premier League. Liverpool are having to play at the moment without Mo Salah. So don't stop the Premier League for the internationals. I would agree. I think that would make complete sense. It would certainly be interesting to see how many players suddenly wanted to not play for England. Though I think that's the worry. That would be the concern. But if the FA said, look, if you're selected for England, you've got to play unless you're injured, then that would take that away from it. It would change people's philosophy, I think, on things. But yeah, it's interesting.
Anyway, we'll talk more, obviously, as the season goes on. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more sort of void talk, I guess you will, in terms of how big it is between the Premier League and the Championship, and also, obviously, trying for those Championship teams to get through into these cup areas. It's just something for me that I think that needs to be taken into consideration as the Championship tries to close that gap. Maybe the league needs to step in and help it a little bit. Lads, richness, money, greed is the next topic I need to talk to you guys about, something that Ted's well aware of. For those that don't know, Ted is a multimillionaire. You can call him if you need a donation or anything. Ted is your man. I'm
hoping somebody does steal my identity.
The richest clubs have been revealed by an analysis by Deloitte. They do it every year. They generate and come up with the highest revenue generating football clubs in the whole entire world. Now, it's no shock to hear who the top 5 will. And I'm going to talk to the lads a little bit about if there'll be any other team, aka Newcastle, potentially in here, getting around the FFP certainly will help. But we need to talk about Real Madrid, who have overtaken Man City to become the highest revenue generating football club this year. Real generated a record revenue of 831 million euros or 710 million pounds. 831 million euros, 710 million pounds to top the Money League study from the 22-23 season. So that is in the space of that season alone. 831 million euros or 710 million pounds. My goodness me, that is a lot of money. Man City now fall into second as the second highest revenue generating club, which, financial fair play, hello. So, I mean, Teddy boy, does it come as a shock that Real Madrid have overtaken Man City, considering everything going on?
There's an old business expression, mate. Turnover for vanity, profit for sanity. Now, you can turn over £800 million. Yeah, absolutely spectacular, that. Brilliant, well done. How much of that is actually profit? because you obviously, look, there's no getting away from this. Real Madrid are like probably the biggest name in football. There's no getting away from that. As far as teams are concerned, historically, probably the most successful that there's ever been in Europe, an absolute juggernaut of a club. But they're playing catch-up, and the Spanish league, in my opinion, is behind where the Premier League is. I would say it's maybe even behind the Bundesliga as well now. There's only a couple of clubs in that division that are any worth whatsoever. So it's no real surprise that, Spain's a big country. People are going to go out and buy the shirts and all that sort of thing. But given the size of the club, given the size of their fan base, 800 million's not a massive surprise. I just wonder how much of that is profit. We'll talk about financial fair play and things like that, and Man City up there with that kind of turnover. Ultimately, it means nothing without the bottom line. And I'm sorry to go all business talk, and I know it is boring and all that kind of thing, but whatever they're producing as turnover figures means nothing if they're not making a profit, mate.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Stevie boy, just listen to some of these stats, mate. 2024, Money League clubs together reported record revenues of 10.5 billion, which is an increase of 14% compared to the last season or the year before that's revenue of combined 9.2 billion, right? Real Madrid obviously returned to the first time since the 2017-2018, right? With the record, that's their record ever of 831 million euros or 710 million pounds in one season. The average revenues generated by 15 of the highest revenue generating clubs stood at 4.3 million as well. So that's for women's clubs as well. So it's gone up. Women's clubs have gone up 61% in revenue. So this is women's football clubs in Europe have gone up 61% in revenue. So I mean, you're seeing men's football increasing. Obviously, they're only going up, by $1 billion. I say only by $1 billion, like it's just pocket change, but it is for Ted. But women's football, 61%. You know what I mean? Is huge. Are we just crazily seeing how much football is worth to people now? Is it why we've got US investors coming in, seeing how much it's worth? Is it crazy to see Real Madrid taking over from Man City for you?
Honestly, the football finance, is something which leaves, I think, most of us, including us on this show, just scratching our heads because, it just doesn't make sense how teams can run, millions and in some cases billions worth of loss through the clubs, yet can still go out and pay ludicrous wages for people, like Mbappe and Benzema. They pay a ludicrous fee and then they're paying a ludicrous wage, each week. And I thought 20 years ago the bubble would burst. I thought Sky would eventually see, the end of football as we know it. But, we're still going on. We're still seeing huge television deals, huge advertising deals, and we're seeing ridiculous wages. Year after year, we're seeing the transfer record being broken. I mean, I remember us all going, £15 million for Alan Shearer, for a footballer. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He looks like a bargain now, doesn't he, compared to some of the deals that have been done. 100 million plus for Harry Kane. Unbelievable. Yeah. Yes, the kid scores goals. Yes, he's very good at what he does. But is he worth £100 million? I mean, it's crazy. And to see that league this morning and to see who's in that league is no surprise. Real Madrid, jockeying for position with, the usual suspects, Barcelona, Manchester United. Those two have got debts coming out their ears. Barcelona are, in one breath, we're seeing reports that Barcelona are skint, and then yet there they are as the highest earners and the money going through the bank. So try and make sense of it. Try and dissect football finance. I know there are some people who do that. Kieran Maguire, I've mentioned him on here before. He's somebody who, I've watched, who tries to make sense of it and gives you it in layman terms so that, we can understand a little bit more about it. But, you've just got to point to the fact that Manchester City, have got 115 allegations of FFP breaches and yet, there's still nothing being done about it. So, I just don't know what it all means. I don't understand it. I wouldn't pretend to understand it. And, I still think at some point everything will have to be accounted for. Everything will have to be laid out the heads will roll. People will be accountable in some way, shape, or form. But at the moment, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand how teams can say they're in debt and they're losing money and they can't do this and can't do that yet. A league table like that comes out with some of the major clubs on there who are crying poverty. I just don't understand it, lads.
What intrigues me though at this point is like, sorry, Ryan, I couldn't in there. You're talking about Real Madrid here, and we're talking about a side where they've probably got the least recognised players that they've had maybe over the last 30 years. Apart from Bellingham and maybe one or two others, they're not that well known in terms of not like the days of the Galacticos where you could go 1 to 11, you could absolutely name that team that's going to turn out every single time they play. And it's just weird that marketability.
Are we good?
Jesus.
Are you okay?
We are. I'll just rewind that.
Yep. No, you're good.
Marketability of these players is kind of the lowest that they've ever been.
Well said, Ted.
It's just a bit of an odd one that they're now turning over more money than they ever have done with arguably their least known squad.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. I mean, this is the revenue, right? So if you want to check out the full list, you can just head to Deloitte. That's DELOITTE, and they have the full list here. But just for the Premier League's sake, right? We got Newcastle, Steve's own. They were 20th last year. They're up to 17th with a generated revenue of 250 million pounds, right? So if you go on the financial fair play, they have their revenue is 250. Now I know that comes into play, right? West Ham have slid from 15th in the season before that down to 18th with their generated income of 239 million pounds. You got Arsenal in 10th. They haven't moved. 463 million pounds. Tottenham Hotspur are up to 8th with 549 million pounds of revenue. This is just incredible amounts of money. And you can just see here how, we talk about the gap, lads. The revenue here is incredible. I mean, it's wild to see some of these numbers that like Steve said, the money these guys are generating through revenue, yet crying poor. I mean, it's incredible. You've got, for instance, Napoli. Napoli literally, for a couple of seasons ago, were almost bankrupt. They're now 19th. 232 million pounds in terms of revenue generated. It's incredible to see. And just a shocking sort of thing for me, again, with the money. I know I've always spoken about money and my frustrations with financial fair play and people trying to, get around the system and selling stadiums and all that sort of stuff. But the revenue at the moment is only going up. Fans and football is only on the up. If you talk about it as a marketable, see how I got that first time. Whoa. If you talk about it as a selling business, then it is generating more and more income for those that invest each year. And we're talking billions of dollars. So no wonder these US markets, these Tom Brady's, these NFL players, all these people are starting to get involved with English football teams because it is generating so much wealth. Ryan Reynolds and obviously the Wrexham saga, we're seeing that Wrexham's probably gone up, even in League Two, they've probably generated a little bit more there as well. You know what I mean? Because of, and we talk about how they come across and they're fans of football and all that sort of stuff. Are they really? I mean, are they really? I mean, surely Tom Brady, I remember, Tom Brady, obviously NFL superstar, growing up with the Birmingham flag on his door. You know what I mean? Not. It's it's a money generating business now to be investing in football. And it's a thing to either do your tax write-offs, it's a thing to do, move your money around, whatever it may be, and they're doing it through the football clubs. And it's incredible to see some of this revenue that they're generating with fans more than ever invested. Now, they're obviously moving into the online market now with ticket sales, watching it on, to their own fan club. We spoke about that with TV rights and stuff like that. It is the most wealthiest thing in the world at the moment is football. And it's incredible to see.
The working class, mate.
It's incredible.
Robbed the sport from the working class.
Yeah, it's incredible just to see the money. Anyway, it is 8 a.m. Enough money talk. It's time for your news headlines. We'll be back after this to talk a little bit of fun and games. We've also got a certain quiz coming up where I'm going to put Steve and Ted in the hot seat with a little bit of geography. That's right, I said geography. Right after your news headlines.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the northeast, the red, the toon and the cat.
It is the North East Footy Brekkie, and you can get involved. You can drop us a WhatsApp on 0330 or 43 2002. You can WhatsApp the show at any time. Have your say on anything to do with North East football matters or anything that the chaps are discussing and chewing about this morning. 0330 or 43 2002. We'd love to hear from you this morning. This is Howard Jones and No One Is to Blame. More North East football chat right after this. Howard Jones, No One Is to Blame on the North East Footy Breakfast. 6 minutes past 8. Good morning. A couple of messages that we've had in via the WhatsApp. Our friend Barry's been in touch. He said, Steve, all these stories about Lascelles leaving, is it on a free or is there a fee mentioned? He also says, mint sure, guys. And Daniil has been in touch as well. The revenue in football may have increased, but we still have losses. My opinion is that one of the main motives for football investments is to maximise the tax benefits, i.e. corporation tax, by claiming losses via group relief. I'm sure there are many clubs that are part of
I should do a show with Daniil. He's intelligent. I like that.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Barry, by the way, yes. And I think there is a fee for Lascelles if he goes now, but he'd be free in the summer. So that's why there was talk of him going. But at the moment, it doesn't look like there's any exits from the club unless there's a shock on deadline day. I still think Bayern Munich will try again for Trippier. I think there's a bit of poker going on there, Barry, but we will wait and see.
No worries.
And Isak to the Borough as well.
Yes. And you can get
Palmo.
And you can get in touch with the North East Footy Brekkie at any time via our WhatsApp 0330 or 43 2002. We'd all love to hear from you this morning.
We certainly would, because it saves us having to talk to Ted all the time. Do you know what I mean? So make sure you get into touch.
What on earth?
I'm sorry, Ted. I know, I'm sorry. No, look.
Sorry, I haven't mentioned.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Is it one of them where you pull people's pigtails in the playground? And
Exactly. It's my type of flirting. Okay, so it's how it works. Right, time.
This is now uncomfortable.
Let's get to some club headlines. Then we're coming back straight after that with one of the quizzes that I've come up with to stump these two lads with their geography skills.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Good morning, Sunderland fans. You can start breathing a sigh of relief, hopefully, as one of Jack Clark's most prominent interested parties have made alternative plans. Transfer insider Fabrizio Romano has stated that negotiations are advancing fast for West Ham to bring Nordsjælland winger Ibrahim Osman to London for a fee of around £15.3 million. He also adds that a fresh round of talks is scheduled today and tomorrow in order for all parties to get a deal done. Sunderland women's news now, and Aston Villa could face punishment for fielding an illegible player in their Continental League Cup game against Sunderland last night. Noel Marit, who joined Villa from Arsenal in January, came off the bench in the 7-0 victory over Sunderland, which ensured Villa's progression to the quarter-finals as Group A winners. But Marit had already played 3 times for Arsenal earlier in the competition. The FA are investigating, however, the FA rules say any club found to have played an ineligible player for a cup match or cup matches shall be in breach of these rules, and the matter shall be referred to an independent tribunal for determination. And finally, Manchester United's transfer stance on Amad Diallo remains clear, despite the breakdown of other United players' loan moves during the January transfer window. Amad, of course, enjoyed a fruitful loan spell at Sunderland last season, helping the team get to the playoffs. Black Cats were keen for the player to return last summer, but a knee injury complicated matters. We were credited again with an interest in the attacker this January after Amad's return to fitness. However, United plan to keep the player this month after paying Italian side Atalanta a reported fee of £19 million, rising to £37 million for the player in 2020. There are your Sunderland headlines.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
With the clock ticking in the transfer window, the gap in valuation between Newcastle and Bayern Munich over Kieran Trippier looks to be too wide, after comments from the Bundesliga side sporting director on Wednesday night to the effect that their interest in him is over. Yesterday brought a bid of £13 million, which was rejected by Newcastle United, and Bayern then announced that their interest was over. Meanwhile, Miguel Almiron is understood to have told the club he doesn't want to leave St James's Park this month. The midfielder has been linked with a move to Al Shabab with a talk of a £30 million bid for the Paraguay skipper, but the 29-year-old is less than a year into a newly penned contract and he loves life on Tyneside. It is believed that Almiron and his family are not open to a move this month. On the injury front, Newcastle striker Callum Wilson is likely to miss Fulham trip in the FA Cup, but should be ready for the trip to Aston Villa at the end of January. While Joe Willock has been stepping up his recovery behind the scenes, the Chronicle are reporting that he won't feature until at least February, while Harvey Barnes is back on the grass and trying to overcome his recurring foot issue. Tuesday saw Yankuba Minte's Gambia play the third and final game of their Africa Cup of Nations group stage campaign, and they lost 3-2 to Cameroon in the Ivory Coast, meaning that they are heading home. Minte will now return to Feyenoord to continue his loan spell and then return to St James's Park in the summer. That's in Newcastle headlines on Thursday morning.
Smoggies and Proud. Borough News.
Good morning, Borough fans. How are you, beautiful humans? Hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. Michael Carrick continues to reiterate that Middlesbrough will not be making any panic signings at the end of this January transfer window. Borough have so far added Luke Ayling and Finnisaz to their squad, but are braced for another Aston Villa push to sign Morgan Rogers before the window closes next Thursday. It's unknown at this stage whether Rogers' departure would prompt Borough to look for a replacement, but Azaz's arrival is already leaving us very well stocked in that forward/high playing midfielder department. Since signing Ayling as well in the second week of this month, Borough's recruitment team had already focused on trying to find a centre forward, with Emmanuel Latte-Lath and Josh Coburn both having issues throughout the season with injuries. In what, though, has been described as not a very active market, Borough have been frustrated in their search for a striker. The stance from the club has been clear from the off, though, however, the more arrivals this month would only be dependent if the right terms of player can be agreed upon. He must fit into this squad and he must not be replacing someone that might be coming back from injury. Carrick insists it would be absolutely someone if they fit. And Middlesbrough are also now going to welcome a rest. It was their game with this weekend against Birmingham has been postponed. Birmingham's progression to the further into the FA Cup means that Middlesbrough will now return to action on the 4th of Feb against a team near Monk Wearmouth, south of Whitburn, near Hilton Red House, and close to their copy of the Riverside in Riverside Bowling, and also just to the west of Cox Green. We beat them at their ground 4-0. Well, welcome to the Riverside, 4th of February. That's your Borough headlines.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve, Ted and Rye. The North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the tune and the cat.
Welcome back to the Northeast Brekkie Show. What headlines they were. See the geographical references I got there, Daz?
I'm very impressed, actually, mate. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Look at me doing my research.
My friend Jack, not yours, Ted, my friend Jack said, Morning, lads. A great show, as always. But I think there's something up with Ted's mic. It sounded like he just said that they lost 7-0.
A little bit of
at least we had the dignity to do it in private and not in front of the
Okay. All right. Well, now I'm going to quiz them, lads, because don't you worry, I'm going to put them in the hot seat. It's time for Rye's made-up quiz, and it's all to do with geography. This morning, I'm going to put Stevie Boy and Teddy Boy in the hot seat. I'm going to list off 10 players here, right? 10 players, and the lads are going to have to tell me what country they are from, okay?
I've already submitted my answers.
All right. Steve has already given up, okay? 10 players, and they're not to be yelled out. What I'll do is I'll say the player, and then you lads write them down, and then you need to send your answers into Daz, much like we did the other week. Daz has got the answers in front of him, and then later on, Daz will reveal who got the best 10. So I'll give you a second just to get a pen and paper or your WhatsApp open. You will need to send your answers into Daz. You can play along at home as well. You're right. You can play along at home as well. And if you want to, the WhatsApp number, Daz, for them to get in touch so they can play along
is 0330 043 2002. Yeah, just drop us a WhatsApp with your answers as well.
There you go. So I'm going to give you 10 footballers, right, from around the world. You need to name and tell me what country they are from. Now, not only does this help me learn where they're from, but it also helps me with pronunciation of certain names. That's why I'm doing it, okay? Because it helps me to help you. Help me to help you, okay? Right. Are you ready, Steve, in the red corner?
Yep.
Are you ready, Ted, in the blue corner?
Well, I get a bit of
I
mute.
want to be in the blue corner. I want to be in the red corner.
No.
It's going to be like that.
Swap ends. Are you ready in the black and white corner, Steve?
Yeah, I've already submitted my answers, but yeah.
Ted, are you ready in the Cox Green corner?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Right.
Gaz, are you ready?
I'm ready. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. We've even got you some music as well. Here we go.
Oh, look at you go. Oh, listen to it. It's Rise Geography. No, that's not going to work. Right, the first player, James Rodriguez. James Rodriguez. You need to tell me what country is James Rodriguez from. Okay. Number 2, lads. Robbie Keane. What country is Robbie Keane from? Number 3. Didier Drogba. Didier Drogba is number 3. Number 4. Sadio Mane. I got it right. See, this is helping me. Sadio Mane. What country is Sadio Mane from? Number 4. Number 5, Gillette, a.k.a. George Best. The best the man can get. George Best in number 5. What country is George Best from? Number 6, Arturo Vidal. Arturo Vidal. What country is Vidal from? Number 6. Number 7, Samuel Eto'o. One of the greatest strikers I've seen. Samuel Eto'o. What country is he from? Number 8. Georgios Karagounis. Georgios Karagounis. Oh, right. I am so proud of you this morning. Number 8.
Mate.
Is it? Yeah. Karagounis, mate. Number 9, Kenny Dalglish. Number 9, Kenny Dalglish. I feel like I'm a bingo. 29. And number 10, Pavel Nedved. Pavel Nedved. Right. You need to have told me, if you've just tuned in, what country those 10 players represent. Where are they from? All right? In that order as well, 1 through to 10. I'm not going to go through them again because I honestly did struggle on a couple. Okay. But they are your top 10. I reckon Stevie's actually was a bit worried, but I reckon he's nailed it. I reckon Steve is that sneaky. I don't want to play, but then he gets A grade. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, that guy's I don't want to run the 100 meters, and then he gets first place and beats, all the other runners. All right. So that is your quiz for this morning. It's a geography quiz, all right? Because we were learning Sunderland places, and that is your number 1 through 10 players. Name the country. Text them in on the WhatsApp number. Steve and Ted, but also playing at home if you want to, you can text in to the show.
On 0330 or 43 2002. If you've got your answers, we'd love to hear from you. 0330 or 43 2002. So I've got both sets of answers now. Just give me a sec. I'll mark them.
Yeah, you could. Please mark them. See how
I think you'll find mine's easy to mark.
Did you struggle on any of them, Ted?
No, to be honest.
No?
I was actually going to show off on one because I was going to give the official French name to one of the countries, but I thought, no, just in case I mess it up.
Here we go.
Like last time.
In English.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Steve? You struggle on them?
No, I did really well.
He told you. I don't want to play. And then he just nails it. This is this guy. Right, lads, while Daz is telling up the numbers to see who's the winner.
Steve just hides his enthusiasm so
constantly.
Let's talk about UK billionaire. A bit of a crazy one, this story breaking in overnight. UK billionaire Joe Lewis, whose family trust owns Tottenham Hotspur, has pleaded guilty to insider trading in a US court. Lewis, who is 86 years old, was accused on passing on information about his companies to his private pilots, friends, personal assistants, and romantic partners. Teddy Boy, as a billionaire that's probably passed on a little bit too much, how do you feel about Joe Lewis here? Joe Lewis obviously is obviously the family trust owns Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, pleading guilty in the US as well to insider trading. I don't think it affects Tottenham too much, mate, but still not the greatest look.
No, I think he's finished in boxing now, to be honest. Oh, have I Googled the wrong one? That's literally all I had to say on that one, but never mind. No. Look, insider trading is one of those big, it's probably one of the ultimate crimes in business. I mean, at 86 years old, you're kind of thinking, well, what are they going to do? They can't stick him. They can't exactly give him life in prison. I mean, they could give him a 6-week sentence, and that could be life in prison at that age, couldn't it? It's silly, very, very silly. You would think somebody who's got to that age, amassing those sort of millions, obviously, clearly a very, very smart businessman over the years. Yeah, it's just daft, really. I don't think Tottenham have got anything to worry about. I don't think it affects them in any way whatsoever, like, really. But yeah, just very surprising to see someone of that age, of that experience as a businessman, doing something that's well documented as being very easy to trace for the right authorities, and just something so daft, really. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, mate. But yes,
well, just giving you more information to the story. More information to the story. US authorities have said that the fraud has netted millions of dollars of profit over a massive amount of time. Lewis founded, obviously, the investment firm Tavistock, which has ownership stakes in large array of properties, sports, finance, energy, and life sciences, all which are linked. So that would include Tottenham, you would think. He was ranked 39th in the 2023 Sunday Times Rich List with an estimated worth of more than £5 billion. He was arrested, obviously, July 2023, and he's just pleaded guilty overnight. Steve?
Yeah.
Another money-related question. It seems to be dominating our show today, but Joe Lewis, not the boxer, the family trust owns Tottenham Hotspur, pleading guilty, years and years of insider trading, apparently. Shock you?
I mean, it doesn't shock us because, like I said, with all of these Premier League clubs, and I'm sure if you've divulged what's going on behind the scenes, who does what, and who finances this, and I think there'd be a few skeletons in most clubs' cupboards. But I think what probably shocks me is the bit of honesty. Clearly, the evidence is being laid out, and there's no way out, and he's pleading guilty because if he doesn't, then maybe the punishment for the crime is going to be more severe. So one would imagine Mr. Louis is simply protecting, what he has, his assets, and potentially, hopefully, from his perspective, reducing any particular sentence that's going to be given to him. I think that's it, really. I mean, these people don't hold their hands up and say, "Yeah, it was me," unless they've got to, do they? That's my reading of it. I think it's a strange scenario. And
it is.
Certainly for somebody who's got that reputation to suddenly, essentially ruin your reputation, by numerous acts of stupidity is a little strange. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what punishment he gets now. Will it be a case of, a slap on the wrist, or will it be more? Who knows? But yeah, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that, that this person has come forward and said this. And it's a strange one, but it won't affect Spurs. I think the early feelings when we heard this story break was, could they be in trouble? Could there be points deduction? Could it be an issue that affects the football club? But no, it's not going to. By the looks of it, it's not going to affect Tottenham. It's a personal thing, and maybe the club have said, maybe that's the situation where they've come out and said, look, you need to take this on the chin. You need to hold your hands up, and you need to say this just in case, the Premier League as we know they are, they're forensically going through everything now because they want to be, they want to be squeaky clean. Maybe there has been a force of hand from the club and Daniel Levy and said, look, you can't put any of this on our toes. This is your responsibility. Make sure that everybody knows this is you and you alone. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it develops. I'll be interested to see what punishment he gets first and foremost.
Yeah, not wrong, especially at the age of 86, Dazzy boy.
So,
do you think part of the insider trading was like him saying that he doesn't think Spurs are going to win the league this season?
Well, let me give you one instance, and I'll get Daz's thoughts on it because Daz is a rich man. Daz, following one of the instances that has been proven in court, this is obviously alleged at the moment as well, but he has pleaded guilty. It is that Lewis allegedly wired his private pilots, Patrick O'Connor and Brian Moore, not Dave Roberts, surprisingly in there, $500,000 each to buy stock in a company after tipping them off with confidential information. Right, that was one of the pilots that came forward and said that he was given $500,000, and these people that he has done this with have made millions and millions of dollars on his insider trading, on telling him. And obviously getting loans to bet to put the money on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this sort of thing happens every single day in the business world, this sort of insider stuff. And, I mean, it's not good. For me, the fact that he's pleaded guilty to this almost makes me suggest that there's maybe a deal on the table. You plead guilty and we'll make sure that this happens, or that, there won't be a custodial sentence or whatever. That's just what it feels like to me. I would be highly surprised if it does affect Tottenham, on the larger scale. You would hope that it wouldn't, in terms of that. But it's these sordid stories, isn't it, that we can do without around our clubs. And I'm saying our clubs in terms of, the UK's, the Premier League. Yeah. So it's stories like this that just leave a sort of bitter taste and just remind us that, that money is, and Steve says all the time, money is ruining this game.
It is.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it is.
Just other WhatsApp lads in the group that we can't talk about.
Oh no, what's happened? Was it me and the whole not listing Dave Roberts?
I'm listening.
Oh,
and then
no.
backed up with, I'll give you some insider trading. The lineup can change.
Oh, no. Well, it's been a great show. Thank you for tuning in and what was
You've had a great run,
show.
right, to be fair.
Thank you, lads, for having me. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will be back on a different station. No, I'm kidding. Of course, Dave loves me.
Bam, there's a replacement.
Just before your sports headlines, Dazzy boy, have you got the results of a certain quiz?
I have got the results.
Okay,
here.
is there a winner?
There is a winner. There is a winner. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And it was a very, very close thing. So, in Rye's geography type footballing quiz, we have in second place with 9 points, it's Steve. So that means in first place with 10 points, it's Ted.
Oh my God. Hold on a minute, Daz.
Oh, hang on.
Hold on a minute, Daz.
Stewart's inquiry.
Yeah, I'm just going to screenshot what I sent you, Daz. I'm going to screenshot unless you're going to be honest and read it out what I sent you.
All right, okay then. Steve sent me.
VAR.
Okay, yeah, we got VAR here. Let me just.
It's in the group, lads.
Yeah. It's in the group. There it is. Yeah. So for number one, Steve passed.
Sorry, Ted.
For number two, he passed. Number three, he passed. Number four, he passed. Number five, he passed. I must have misread them. But the winner is Ted.
Well done,
Teddy boy. Well done, Ted. Well done, Teddy boy.
How many did Ted actually get right, though, just out of interest?
All 10. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, well done, lads.
Wow.
And
well
he
done.
was, I mean, sometimes the word hadn't finished coming out of Rye's mouth and Ted had texted the answer.
Really?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. He was Red hot.
Geography. I was going to go for Côte d'Ivoire for Didier Drogba.
Yes,
because that's the.
I was proving I'm a man of my word, because when Ted did the geography quiz, I said if there's any more geography quizzes on this show, I won't do them right. Now the fact that you're a part timer on this platform probably means that you didn't hear me say that. I am not doing it. I am not doing geography.
Yeah, well, maybe the new replacement for me, you'll have to bring it up with him. It's time for your sports and news headlines here at 8:30 a.m. on the Northeast Brekkie Show. We'll be back right after this.
Together across the Northeast.
The Toon, the Cat and the Red.
It is the Northeast Footy Brekkie on DAB, online and on your smart speakers right across the Northeast on the Cat, the Toon and the Red. Davy Ladd has been listening in to us, this morning. He's supposed to be on
Dad, I love you.
sleeping, but he's been secretly listening in. And he said, having heard this morning's quiz, due to his love of astronomy and aviation, Radio Dad will be revealing the out-of-the-world quiz very soon.
Geography, Dave. I won't be doing it.
Yeah, learn your lesson, Dave.
Even if it's on this planet or off another planet, he won't be doing it, okay?
Exactly.
No
it's out of this
whatsoever.
world. I'm not doing it.
Hey, I noticed on Sky Sports News this morning, I was just looking through the headlines there, and it's saying Arsenal transfer news. Marseille are keen on Tavares' loan. Apparently Marseille had a chat with him and said, "You to me are everything. The sweetest song that I could sing, oh baby." Well, that looks like that one will go through.
Well done.
I'm here all week.
Well done.
Actually, I'm not. But
Well done.
Thankfully.
A clap.
I thought they were interested in. Were they not interested in selling that Colombian because Heaven was missing an angle, wasn't it?
Oh, my God.
Oh, what have I started?
No. In real news, Northeast football fans, especially those concerned with Middlesbrough, Ryan Giles is back in the championship. Can you believe it? Looking to sign a loan deal for the rest of the season at Hull City. So Ryan Giles is, I think it was a record-breaking move to Luton at the time. Luton obviously breaking their record transfers for him. Hasn't worked out. He's now back in the championship on loan to Hull City for the rest of the season with a view to sign permanently as well. So interesting one there, Borough fans, just breaking through as well to see we might come up against Ryan Giles later this season.
He was great for us last season, without a doubt. He had some great assists.
He was.
And
I'd take Engel now, though. My goodness.
Yeah. And I think this is a real coup for Hull, who were obviously... We talked about it the other day, didn't we? I think somebody mentioned that if Borough don't sign a striker, does that show their lack of ambition?
Yeah, that's what they...
I think Hull are showing their ambition, and they're going to make a big push for this playoffs, I think, with the signings that they're making.
Yeah, getting over Sunderland as well, which was, an easy feat, I guess you could say these days. Let's move on. VAR is back. VAR, it's time. I've left it to the last half hour of the show to bring up that one and famous three-letter word, VAR. It's back, lads. It's weird. It's ugly head. Nottingham Forest have been informed by the referees' organisation that the video assistant referee did not have the power to rule out Brentford's disputed equaliser on Saturday. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, on the weekend, Ivan Toney's return, which we discussed yesterday on the show, and we were all in agreement. It was a bit weird to see Ivan Toney returning from a ban to get the captain's armband. But not only that, but during the game, he has equalised for Brentford by moving the ball to the right. And I'm not talking a minuscule amount. He's literally picked the ball up. He's also grabbed the Gillette shaving cream, scraped that on the ground as if it's going to look like a new line, and moved the ball a good positional shift to the right. He then scored the free kick. Nottingham Forest were then said to investigate. They asked the question, and the answer was that VAR couldn't have intervened because it doesn't have the power to do that. Steve, why doesn't VAR have the power to overrule decisions on the pitch when it certainly overrules a lot more on the pitch?
It's just the way that the rules have been set up, and again, it's another head scratcher with VAR. We're all left thinking, that we're going to be improving the game with this technology, but it's just another ludicrous rule that has been implemented from the very start. And, certain situations, it's not all situations that it affects, but it's a situation like that it affects. And ultimately, the referee is the man who still has the power to make decisions on the pitch. And if he doesn't flag that up as an issue, if he doesn't see it and and clamp down on it, then VAR can't say to the referee, hold on a minute, he's just moved the ball. So it's as simple as that. Really, it's the right thing because the referee should have control, but then the referee doesn't have ultimate control, because if he misses something in play, then they can then pull it back and say, hold on, he was offside. Hold on, that was a handball. So, yeah, I mean, really, the referee should have picked up on it. He should have, he should have been. He should have been on the ball, shouldn't he? He should have gone back once he's happy that the wall's gone the correct distance, and once he's happy that he's ready to restart play. He should have gone back to see where he had essentially awarded the free kick. He would have noticed, because, like we mentioned, it looked like party string that he picked up. It looked like he was using something along those lines, and he didn't. As he picked it up, if you watch it back, it almost like. It disintegrates, but, he manages to pick part of it and move it. But there was quite clearly the original line was still where the free kick was awarded. So had the referee gone back and looked at the positioning, he would have seen that the ball had been moved. So then he could have corrected it. And all he would have said was, he wouldn't have, I don't think he would have booked Tony at all. I mean, he would have just said, look, we'll have the ball back where it was, please. But that's that, and in real time, was that really going to be picked up whenever somebody, whenever VAR, the VAR officials, you would imagine, would be sitting watching that, and it's just natural for a striker to pick a ball up and get placement and do what he wants. But with further examination, with hindsight, you watch it and he quite clearly gives himself an advantage. And you've got to blame the defenders as well. I mean, one of the defenders saw exactly what was going on. Was told the goalkeeper to change, to change his wall, or to watch his position, and he telegraphed what was going to happen, and they didn't stop it. So it is what it is. It's not the most controversial thing I've seen this season as far as VAR or non-VAR is concerned, but it's done now, and you just got to move on. But I dare say when there's a free kick on the edge of the box, referees and linesmen will be looking a little bit more at Mr. Tony, making sure that he doesn't move the ball, and I think the next attempt he will be clamped down on.
Teddy boy, I think it's a bit silly that you got a video assistant referee. The referee is actually in the name, and he can't intervene if he's picked something up that the referee hasn't seen, that he can't get in the ear and say, look, mate, Ivan Tony's just moved the ball a bit. You might want to bring that back.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the rules. First of all, I have to take you to task, right? You described VAR as a three-letter word. It's actually an acronym, but there you go.
It's true.
Grammar lesson aside.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's well played. Well played.
No worries. They're just friendly. Yeah, so VAR, obviously no authority to intervene on restarts. So yeah, it's down to the referee on the pitch. I get what you're saying. Video referee is there for a reason, to pick up on things like that, and there maybe could have been a word in the ear. But we've got to bear in mind that VAR is still very much in its infancy. It's still developing all the time, and as far as we're finding out its limitations on an almost daily basis, really. So yeah, not much can do. I mean, look, it's not like Ivan Toney's moved it, 10 foot closer to the goal and kind of given an absolute daylight advantage. He's stole a yard. It happens all the time. How many times do we see free kicks taken anywhere around the park? The almost never in the exact spot that the incident is taking place. It's just part of the game. Players steal a yard. Whether it's given them so much of an advantage where it's given him an advantage in terms of scoring, he might have scored the free kick if he took it from exactly where it was supposed to be taken from. We don't know that. All he's done is move the ball a little bit. Like Steve says, it's not worth a booking. It's not even worth, it's maybe a little bit of a word of, come on, go on, knock it back a couple of inches, mate. That's where I've drawn the line. It's down to the referee for me to ensure the ball is in place and all is good, and keep an eye out for things like that. We know it happens. If we're going to be that stringent about the rule, then watch the player as the free kick's being taken. Take one last check before the free kick's even taken. Whatever, but yeah, I don't think enough of an advantage was gained where that's resulted in the goal, because he could have quite easily stuck it away from where the free kick was originally spotted.
So do you think, I guess, if in another instance, if Ivan Toney had moved the ball forward, for instance, to gain a couple of, to bring it closer to the goal, then the VAR could have stepped in? Is that technically...
It's like how long's a piece of string, though, isn't it? Because if you're moving it forward 2-3 inches, then is that an advantage? Probably not. It's maybe just avoiding maybe a little divot in the turf. So moving it forward, something like that, not really an advantage, isn't the grand scheme of things. You're talking about a pitch that's like, 110 metres long, whatever it is. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's not an advantage. But obviously, if you're trying to steal, a metre, 2 metres, something like that, then yes, obviously that it should be intervened. You're never going to get it exactly on the blade of grass that it's pointed out in the first place, are you? And I would hate to think we get to that stage that we're being that petty about it, that we're having to stop, like in snooker, to have a ball respotted and sort of look at the camera angles and then take even more time out of the action of the game to have a free kick spotted exactly where it should be taken from. Because that just ruins the game even more.
Obviously on this, we see the shaving cream, for instance, being put where the ball needs to be kicked from, and then obviously they space out and put it for the wall. Is there any point putting it where the ball needs to be kicked from if we can just move it around a little bit?
Yeah, it's all a bit of a farce for me, and I think the fact that they've come out and said, "Look, we can't do anything about this," is highlighting it again when it didn't. Did it really need highlighting again? The bloke has just come back from a ban for cheating, for doing something that he shouldn't have done. He goes straight back onto the pitch. They give him a glorious welcome back. They make him club captain, and one of the first thing he does is he cheats again, and moves the ball, moves the shaving foam, scores a goal, runs away like he's a hero. It just again a sour taste in your mouth, and I'm thinking of kids watching this, thinking, "Oh, well, that's all right. He's got away with this, hasn't he? So that's all right then. We can all do this. Yep, we can all do this, everyone." One of the things that talking to a dad who, my lads are now 19, coming up 20.
Yep.
And I went through the whole sort of kids football with them, playing for a local team and all that sort of stuff. And one of the dads, I was chatting to a guy and he was saying that his kids are going through all that now. They're 9 or 10 or what have you, and going through that. And one of the things that the kids are doing now is as they're coming off the pitch, at half time or what have you, when they're talking to each other, they're covering their mouths with their hands as they're talking to each other. Like you see the footballers do on the telly. Right.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. These kids are thinking, right, this is what I'm watching them do this on the telly. So this is what we need to do. Just in case anybody is asking, have you got a baby Bella at half time? No, I've got a fruit shoot. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so kids are watching what these professional footballers are doing on the TV.
The copy,
exactly. And I don't think we should be highlighting this anymore. I don't know why this is a story in that, by the way, we
it's
can't...
Rye's fault. He did the headlines.
No. No, but why have they come out and said we can't do anything about this? Why didn't they just leave it then?
Yeah.
It's not news, is it? The news is
want to be like the
we
players.
Can't do anything.
So I'm going to start talking at the radio through my hand now. Can you guys still hear me? All right, I'm talking through my hand. Okay, so now nobody that potentially is tuning in, maybe radio dad who wants to, change the lineup. Now he can't see what I'm saying. See, and now we're safe. Okay, so now well done. How clever am I? But you're absolutely right, yeah, Daz. And it's the message it sends to the younger audience. They copy everything that the players want to do. They're heroes. What they do on and off the pitch, is exactly how these people want to live their lives. If they go and buy this new TV, then these guys want that TV sort of thing. So it is an interesting thing that it has even been brought up. Now, but still on Nottingham Forest, lads, it's just been revealed as well last night. Something that's interesting to me is that the majority, now they haven't revealed how many of them, but obviously we know that Nottingham Forest are now struggling with FFP, so much struggling that they've been fined, and they will have to face the truth serum very soon about what's going to happen there. But the majority of the Nottingham Forest squad has been revealed that they do not have any pay cut clauses in their contracts in the event of relegation. Therefore, if Nottingham Forest come through and have to be relegated due to the financial fair play, even if they've got points taken off them, whatever it may be, if they have find themselves in the championship next season, then their 20, 30 odd signings that they made for multi-million dollars are all going to be on the current wages they're on. Teddy boy, surely something has to be done with that. Something like that happens when they drop to the championship.
Yeah, I can't get my head around this because every club should have that written into every single contract. Because, I mean, at best, it's arrogant to presume that you're not going to get relegated. And if you do, I mean, that absolutely ruins the club. Without fail, that absolutely ruins the club. It's to take a wage bill down into the championship like that. All right, you're fine for 1 year, maybe. You might get away with it. Let's face it, Forest haven't got absolute world-beaten superstars like some of the other Premier League teams have. So you might just squeak away with it. But that's assuming you are going to bounce straight back up. There is no guarantee of that in the Championship. We've seen it over the years. Leicester, different beast this year. And Leicester look very, very strong. They look, to all intents and purposes, like they're going to go back up. But how many of those sides do we see in the Championship, even in League One, some even in League Two, who are former Premier League clubs who can't get back out of that division and back into the Premier League? Taking that wage bill down into year 2 in the Championship, that is dangerous. And given the sanctions and everything that's the charges that Forest are facing, the owners they're just sleepwalking the club into oblivion. It's absolutely astounding. I mean, I know I was upset at the time when we got relegated and Jermaine Defoe had a release clause in his contract. Now that's a different thing. So basically, it was if Sunderland got relegated, Jermaine Defoe was free to join another club. This is when we got relegated out of the Premier League, and fans were absolutely raging about that because that never should have existed. Our best chance of firing ourselves back up into the Premier League would have been holding on to somebody like Jermaine Defoe to fire the goals in to take us back. That wasn't allowed to happen. But what we always have done is put those relegation clauses in. I think it's like anywhere between 15 and 25% maybe that they lose, possibly even more now, probably about a 40% cut. But that's got to be there. I mean, if those players don't keep you in the Premier League, they don't deserve to be paid Premier League wages, do they? It's just common sense.
Incredible, isn't it? It's incredible. I mean, Steve, their annual payroll, right? Their annual, this is annual, not their weekly, but their annual payroll is 74,652. I mean,
74 million?
74 million, sorry. Yeah, 74,652,000 is their annual payroll for a 1,435,615 weekly. That is their current payroll. Their average player is on £37,779 per week for a yearly average player of around £2 million. That dropping down to the championship, ludicrous, right?
Yeah, it is. Not having those kind of fees. I'd like to know how many players would be, like, if they do go down with their season, how many would be out of contract. But I mean, they've got so many players, haven't they? I mean, I haven't kept a close eye on Forest's squad, but I mean, they did almost sign an entirely new team when they first got to the Premier League. I mean, it's paid dividends for them. They've stayed up, and they've managed to retain their Premier League position. I mean, unless they have points deducted, I still say the bottom 3 are the 3 that go, but I think Forest could do it again this season. But yeah, it's dicing with financial danger, really, doing something like that. And you'd have to have a huge fire sale. Players would want to go at the end of the season, and there's some players there that would be handy for Premier League teams and Championship teams. So they just have to have a big sale. But yeah, it does leave you scratching your head a little bit. I mean, those figures that you just mentioned, 37,000 is what their average player is on wage wise. It's not particularly high wage for the Premier League. I can imagine that's a high wage for Nottingham Forest, having spent a lot of time in the Championship over recent seasons. But in the grand scheme of things, 37 grand a week for a player, that's a lower end wage, you would have said. It's not, I mean, I think Newcastle's probably double that, probably 60, 70 grand for most of the players that are established. But yeah, I'd say that's it's football suicide, isn't it? It's a daft thing to do. Not have those kind of clauses in, and you would question who's writing the contracts for us. Certainly over over somebody who would make sure that they're looking after the club's best interests. It sounds almost like they're looking after the players' best interests there.
Yeah,
maybe that's what they've got to do to get people there. Yeah,
it was 300 million on 43 pplayers in 3 transfer windows.
And financial fair play is like, maybe. You talk about
anyone got the Forest number?
Yeah, might give them a ring tomorrow morning. How's that sound after me morning coffee? This is the top 5 earning players at Forest currently and their gross per week. So you've got Divock Origi, who is the top paid player per week. This is in pound. He's on 120,000 per week. Chris Wood is in second on 80,000. He's tied with Gibbs White, who's also on 80,000. Felipe, who's also on 80,000. Callum Hudson-Odoi, also on 80,000. And then Sangari and Aurea are both on £75,000 per week. This is reported through Capology, which is obviously reports every team's financial breakdown. So there you go. If some of those players drop down to the championship, you could be coming up against a Divock Origi on £120,000 per week against Emmanuel Latte-Lath and the likes, or Mason Burstow, for instance. It's incredible, and Forest, are going to have to face the music very, very soon for their financial fair play breaches, which they were proven alongside Everton. But it could a lot more to play out this season with financial fair play as well. I feel like I've been talking about money all this day, but I apologise. It was just I just do the headlines as they're revealed. That is your morning Northeast show done. We are going to pass it over to Daz. We're going to even give him time for music. Daz, what is on your beautiful, beautiful morning show this morning?
Well, we've got a category this morning that's coming up. We're going to have a look and see what's on the newspaper front pages, get you up to date with the showbiz news, see what's on the telly tonight. Ooh. And, of course, we have got the quiz that is sweeping the nation. It is named that
like
theme.
My geography one.
Yeah.
So, Daz, are you going to bring that? Are you going to bring that one that wasn't sold? Should we next week instead of this stupid geography thing?
Yeah, we'll do that Tuesday. I'm back on Tuesday, so we'll do that on Tuesday.
Great stuff, mate.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, I'm not here. I'm off.
Oh, no.
So, are you here Thursday?
Yes, I am. I'll keep it till Thursday for you,
next
Steve.
Tuesday, Steve.
Keep it till Thursday. Yeah, I'm having that. Well, just as everyone else has time off, I'm having time off.
Oh, well, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Brush up on me, geography.
Have a lovely Thursday, guys. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Daz, for sitting in the hot seat. Thank you for tuning in Northeast Brekkie Show. Have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow.
Cheers, boys.
To look at the FA Cup.
Guys.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The Northeast Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the Northeast, the